Now look, we're not professionals.
Alright, welcome back to Without Shortcuts. Today we have a recipe that is simple, easy, stays right in line with what we've been doing up to this point, but in this case it is very utilitarian. It's going to fit into a lot of different meals, you're going to be able to use it often, it's going to impress people, and it is absolutely delicious. It is certainly not as easy as pulling a bag out of the pantry, opening it up, and just tearing some bread apart and putting it in a basket. But with just a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra effort, you can have dinner rolls that are absolutely wonderful.
That's right. So this is a recipe that my family uses actually quite a bit. I just recently made these for my sister's birthday dinner. They are one of her favorites because they are just absolutely loaded with butter and they're delicious. So let's go ahead and get started.
Alright, so for this recipe, we are looking at 7 ingredients. You can see we've got things laid out. We do have 2 separate measures of flour, which you're going to need. We have 2 separate measures of butter. They do have different applications. But for the most part, this is super simple. We're just going to put these together in the right order and add a little bit of love, and everything's going to be great.
Right. Okay, so we've got wet ingredients and dry ingredients. We're actually going to start with the wet ingredients first because they've got to warm up.
All right, let me take care of that. I'm just going to grab a saucepan, and we're going to combine our wet ingredients, which includes a 1/4 cup of butter, which is just a half a stick, 1.5 cups of milk, and a 1/2 cup of water. I'm going to take those, put that in there.
Okay, so while that's heating up, we're going to go ahead and get started with our dry ingredients. So we're going to start with 3 cups of flour. That's going to go into our mixer bowl, along with 3 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt, and a packet of dry yeast. Alright, we're going to go ahead and mix those up.
Okay, so we've got our butter and our water and our milk kind of heated up, and we want to make sure that we check the temperature on this. You don't want it above 130 degrees before you add it into your wet ingredient or your dry ingredients. Because it will actually impede your yeast or kill your yeast off, so you don't get a good rise. So we're just going to double check this. And we're at 127 degrees. We've got just a little bit of butter in there. So we're going to just turn the heat off, let that residual heat melt the rest of our butter, and we should be just perfect and ready to go.
Okay, so now we're going to take our wet ingredients and we're going to slowly add these to the dry ingredients with the mixer on low. Okay. So that's going to come together, and then we're going to turn the mixer on high and beat this for about 2 minutes.
Alright, while he's getting those mixed up, we're going to get a bowl ready so that we can prove this in a nice, greased, even bowl. Get a bowl. Just a tiny little splash of vegetable oil. Make sure that's ready to go.
Okay, so this has come together pretty well. So we've got our remaining 2.5 cups of flour that we're going to go ahead and add to the rest of this until it comes together into a cohesive dough. And you want to keep it on low while you're doing this so you don't end up with flour all over your kitchen. Okay, so this has all come together into a pretty decent looking dough. So we're going to switch from the paddle to the dough hook, and I'm going to knead this in the bowl with the dough hook for probably about 8 minutes or so. Now, I know we always talk about not taking shortcuts. Kneading it in the mixer is not a shortcut. That is just being smart. So our dough looks like it's about done kneading. We've got a good, smooth, elastic dough that we're going to go ahead and pull the dough hook out of and just kind of shape roughly into a ball. And then that's going to go into our nice greased bowl here.
All right, we're going to want to have that covered. We'll let Brian get some plastic wrap ready for that. I'm just going to turn this in the bowl a little bit to make sure that that little bit of oil we have in there kind of covers everything so that as it rises, it doesn't actually stick to anything. Keep that in good shape. Take our plastic wrap, go right over the top. And then we're just going to set this aside, let it rise until it's roughly double in size, probably about an hour and a half. And then we'll come back.
Okay, so our dough is finished rising. The first thing we need to do is to melt down 6 tablespoons of butter.
All right, I can take care of that.
Okay, so we're going to pull the plastic wrap off of here. So our dough is risen up nicely, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to punch it down. Now this seems like kind of a wasted effort, but what this is going to do is it's going to give our dough a chance to do a second rise so that we get a better texture and just a better overall finished product.
All right, so we've got our butter all melted. We've got a couple of pans. We're actually just going to use 2 9-inch cake pans. You could certainly use a 9x13 baking pan, but you know, whatever fits your flavor. So usually when you're making bread at this point, you'd want to prepare your dishes, whatever you're going to cook it in. For this, we're going to have so much butter in the dough and on the dough, we're not going to have any problems with anything sticking to anything else.
That's right. So now the recipe says to divide this into 40 equal pieces. Basically the way I do it is we're going to pull these out and you're going to make roughly golf ball shaped balls of dough, about like that, and then we're going to roll them in the butter, and then you're just going to drop them right in the pan. And so we're just going to do that with all the rest of this dough. So we've got our dough rolled up into balls, so we're going to let these rise again for another 45 minutes before we stick them in the oven. So it's been about 20 minutes. Now in most recipes they tell you to preheat the oven right off the bat. With this particular recipe, because there's so much downtime with the rolls rising twice, we waited until now to do it. But now's the time you're going to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Our rolls are ready to go. So we're going to take those and stick them into our oven for 15 minutes. So let's get these out of the oven.
They're looking nice and browned on top. They're going to be delicious. We had a little bit of the extra butter that we had melted and rolled them in before we put them in the oven. You know, waste not, want not, and it never hurts. Get some fresh bread out. We're just going to take and brush this over the top. This is going to give everything a nice texture, everything a nice flavor because it's butter.
Right. So we've let these sit and cool for a little bit, and just to show you guys, we didn't prepare the pans ahead of time, but look how easy this comes out.
Piece of cake, everything's ready. We've waited about as long as we're going to let these go. We're going to tear into these and see what we've created.
All right, and no additional butter necessary.
By any stretch. Oh, they feel great. They look good.
Yep, those are awesome.
Now, that is hard to beat. They are soft. They are chewy. They are absolutely delicious. Way better than anything you're going to get by going to the grocery store and just picking up a bag, throwing it in the cart, and coming home. It's a little more time, it's a little more effort, but absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely. So give these a shot, and you know, this is a quality that can only be achieved without shortcuts.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next time around. Tag us in the Instagram, hit us up on Twitter. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, hit it in the comments down below. We'll see you next time around.
All right, see ya.